Hey everyone, welcome back to Robotics. I hope you're doing well. Today we're going to have our fourth lecture where we introduce something called a transformation matrix. To get this concept started, I want to show you a video. And in this video, we have a humanoid robot that's moving around. It's got all these different links that are connected by joints, and it's changing the position and orientation of these links in order to perform these larger motions. This idea that we can represent motion through some sort of combination of translation and rotation is really core to the concept of transformation matrices. So in this lecture, I first want to say, what is a transformation matrix? And once we've defined it, I then want to show us how we can use it, how we can apply these transformation matrices to capture rigid body motion. Let's get started with a really basic and very fundamental theorem in robotics. And that is that any rigid body motion is a combination of a rotation and a translation. And I've got an example right here. I've got this drone, this robot. It's starting off over here, and it moves over here. And in the process, it changes its position, so there's a translation, but it also changes its orientation. It rotates a little bit around the y-axis, so now I've got this new drone. So this motion, this rigid body motion, is a combination of rotating and translating. And if we know that, then we might want to think about how do we write rigid body motions in a way that we can use. And that leads us to this idea of transformation matrices. So we're going to formulate rigid body motion through a transformation matrix, which is composed of both rotation and translation. Let's use the letter T, a capital T, to denote a transformation matrix. And this transformation matrix is going to contain a rotation matrix, capital R, and a position vector. The rotation matrix, that's capturing the rigid body rotation, and the position vector, well, that's capturing any rigid body translation. So overall, this transformation matrix is telling me about how a rigid body moves through both its rotation and its translation. Let me spell out the components a little bit more so we can see what this matrix looks like. A transformation matrix overall is going to be a 4x4 matrix, a square matrix, where it's got rotation on the top left, position on the top right, and then the bottom row is always going to be the exact same. Let me talk a little bit about this for the example. So here I've got T, and I know it's got components R, P, 0, 1. So that's like the shorthand we use to write this transformation matrix. But if you were to expand that out, you'll see that R, this rotation matrix, is a 3x3 matrix, right? And here are all the elements of that matrix highlighted in yellow, right? So here are the 9 elements of that matrix. 3x3 rotation matrix. And it must satisfy all the rules that we know a rotation matrix must satisfy. Then that's the top left. The top right is a position vector. And here's this position vector. Now, any three-dimensional vector is a valid position vector. Could be 0, 0, 0, could be whatever you like. This is the position vector, 3x1 vector. Now the bottom row, like I mentioned, for a transformation matrix is always the exact same. It's 0, 0, 0, 1. So if you don't have that, you don't have a valid transformation matrix. And that overall is what's going to build our 4x4 transformation matrix. Now, let me look at this again and start thinking about it the way we want to provide subscripts to define what is this transformation. So intuitively, TSB, this transformation matrix, is the position and rotation of frame B with respect to frame S. And I like to think about this as I am standing in S and I'm looking at frame B. I'm trying to think about how is that moved and rotated with respect to me. And that's how I define this transformation matrix. If I break it open, I see that this transformation matrix includes RSB, which is the orientation of frame B with respect to frame S, and SB, this vector that starts off at S and goes to B and is also written in frame S. So I've got position and rotation, everything expressed with respect to frame S, my home coordinate frame. Okay, so let's talk about some properties for these transformation matrices. And really there's 2 main properties I want to cover. The first is that if you take the inverse of a transformation matrix, you are switching your frame of reference. So let's say you've got a transformation matrix, TAB. If you take the inverse of that, you'll get TBA. Think about that as like our examples where I'm like, hey, I'm standing at A and I'm looking at B. Well, if I take the inverse of that, now I'm standing at B, looking back at A. So I'm switching my frame of reference by taking the inverse of a transformation matrix. The second property is that the product of transformation matrices is also a transformation matrix. And this should sound familiar. We have the same property for rotation matrices. So if I have TAB call it whatever you like, times TBC, I'm going to get another valid transformation matrix. And let me spell out that multiplication a little bit more for you to better understand how this product works. So to prove it, I'm just going to do my basic matrix multiplication. I'm going to start off with my equation, say, hey, TAC, we've said that's equal to TAB times TBC, more on that later. But I've got two different transformation matrices, and that's sufficient for now. Here's my transformation matrix TAB, and here's my transformation matrix TBC. And they've got the correct subscripts and notation that we've described before. If I do my matrix multiplication, remember your rows and your columns, if you do out your matrix multiplication, you end up with what you see down here. I'm calling this TAC. For my rotation matrix, I've got RAB times RBC. That's my rotation matrix. And then for my position vector, I've got some position vector A to B plus a rotation matrix times another position vector B to C. And on the bottom, this is my shorthand for 0, 0, 0, 1. So my bottom row looks good. Now, maybe take a second, pause the video, and think about this top row. You might notice, if you think about previous lecture, there are some subscript cancellations that we can do to better explain what's going on in this top row. Okay, so let's say you did it. You've got your answer, and hopefully it looks something like this. Maybe you recognized that RAB times RBC, the B's cancel right here, and I'm left with a rotation matrix that describes the orientation of frame C with respect to frame A, RAC. And similarly, if I look at this rotation matrix times my position vector right here, the frames B cancel, and I've got a position vector from B to C written in frame A. And if I put all this together, I get a really nice intuitive explanation of this transformation matrix. I now see that TAC, this transformation matrix from A to C, gives me the orientation of C with respect to A, which makes sense. And then the position vector, it's got two components, but you can add them together, right? It's got the position from A to B and the position from B to C. So if you add those, you get the overall position from A to C written in frame A. So I've got the rotation and the position of frame C with respect to frame A. And that matches what I would hope for this transformation matrix. Okay, so I've got it. I know a little bit about the properties. Now, how do I use these transformation matrices? And no surprise, we're going to use them by multiplying them. Like very similar to rotation matrices, the idea is that we want to multiply these transformation matrices in order to capture rigid body motion. And that's part of the reason why we defined them the way that we did. But the order of multiplication is super important. And so I want to make sure you get the right order of multiplication when you're using these transformation matrices. And the subscripts and the way we've defined our notation is going to give you a hint as to the correct way to do this multiplication. So let's look at this example right here. I'm multiplying these transformation matrices, and this is the example we've already covered, by the way. We just went through this example. Now you'll notice, if you look at this, I've got TAB times TBC, and my subscripts here are canceling, right? The same way they did for rotation matrices, my subscripts here are canceling, and so I end up with TAC. And so what's really happening here is I've got some original transformation matrix, TBC. If I multiply that by this other transformation matrix, TAB, I passively change my frame of reference so that now I have a new transformation matrix, TAC. So originally, I'm standing at B looking at C. When I multiply it, I'm now standing at A looking at frame C. And we kind of went through the steps to show how that works earlier in this lecture. Okay, so that was a simple problem. Let me show you a more involved problem and maybe a word problem to kind of see how you might correctly order this multiplication. So for this word problem, I've got these two robots, and they're picking up these boxes and handing them off. And I've got this robot over here. I've got this robot over here. Both of these are fetch robot arms. They've got a mobile base and this manipulator, this robot arm attached to it. So one base, I'm going to call that coordinate frame A. The other base, I'll call that coordinate frame C. The two boxes, I'll call them coordinate frame B for one end effector, D for the other end effector. And what I really want to figure out how to hand these boxes over. So I want to find this transformation matrix from B to D. I want to find TBD. So I know kind of how I could hand these two boxes off. I know the position orientation of them with respect to one another. And what I'm given is the transformation matrix from A to B, from A to C, and from C to D. Okay? So to find this kind of unknown transformation matrix, what I recommend you do is sit down and draw a path, a continuous path that starts off at the base of your, whatever coordinate frame you want to start off as, and ends at the coordinate frame that you want to end at. Right? So here I've drawn my path from B to D that moves through the different quantities that I know. And then if I just sit down and write all these transformation matrices, okay, TBA, that's this one right here, this one right here, this arrow is going to correspond to TAC, the second one. And then this last arrow is going to correspond to TCD, this one here. If I sit down and write them in this order, you'll see that all my subscripts cancel, right? I have my A's cancel right here, my C's cancel right here. I'm left with TBD, the transformation matrix from B to D, which looks great. That's what I wanted. But one little caveat, make sure you use the matrices you're actually given. So in this problem statement, I said I knew the transformation matrix from A to B. I don't know the transformation matrix from B to A. So what I'm going to have to use is one of the properties that I have for transformation matrices. I know that TBA is equal to the inverse of TAB. And so I'll use that step right here to get my final answer. I know when I multiply all these out, I'll get the correct transformation matrix. And these the equation here uses the three different transformation matrices that I'm given. So it'll be a valid way to go about solving this problem. Okay, so that's one way we can multiply these transformation matrices, but there is one other way. It's still multiplication, but just a different way of thinking about it. And this is a more active way of thinking about the multiplication. And we use these transformation matrices to move coordinate frames, to actually change their position and their orientation. And this goes back to the beginning of the lecture where we said, hey, we can capture any rigid body motion through a combination of translation and rotation. And that's exactly what we're going to do with the transformation matrix. So let me talk a little bit about this setup that we have right here. So I've got a home coordinate frame, this coordinate frame S, and this coordinate frame is not moving. It's stationary. That's why I use the letter S. It's a stationary fixed coordinate frame. And then I've got this other coordinate frame B that's attached to the drone. Wherever the drone goes, this coordinate frame goes. I'm calling that a body coordinate frame because it moves with the body of this object. So I've got B and I've got frame S, and I've got my original transformation matrix, TSB, that tells me where this drone is with respect to my world frame. If you like, you can imagine that you're standing at S and you're looking at the drone as it flies around. That's kind of the problem setting we're looking at. And now I want to apply a new motion, call that T, and I want to move the drone by this coordinate frame T to get a new position, a new orientation, a new transformation matrix for the drone. So TSB is my original pose, and T is going to be what happens next. I should mention, this word pose, I'm combining position and orientation into one word, pose. Okay. So you can multiply here. And the order of multiplication is very important because it determines in what frame you're defining this motion. So the first option is you can define the motion in this spatial frame S, the fixed frame. And if you want to do that, you pre-multiply. So you'll multiply by T first, and put the T first before TSB. If you do this, if you pre-multiply, then the motion T is defined with respect to frame S. So for example, let's say that T has a pure rotation around the Z-axis. If you pre-multiply, you're implicitly saying that that is the Z-axis of frame S. So it's ZS that you're rotating around. The opposite would be a body frame motion. In this case, you're post-multiplying. So you've got your original transformation matrix, and you post-multiply by this motion you want to apply. Here, the motions are going to be defined in the body frame. So again, if you have the exact same transformation matrix T that's got pure rotation on the Z-axis, now you're rotating around the ZB axis, the body frame axis. And so again, the order multiplication will get two different answers. Are you rotating around this Z-axis of the world frame, or are you rotating around the Z-axis of the body frame? You pick, right? It's up to you depending on what you want to do for the problem. Neither is necessarily right or wrong, but just make sure you have the right order so you do the multiplication and the motion that you really wanted to define. So pre-multiply for the fixed frame, post-multiply to be in the body frame. Although it might seem unintuitive, in most cases, we're going to actually use this fixed frame motion. So we'll usually be thinking about transformation matrices with respect to this fixed frame, and we'll be defining the motions here, and we'll be pre-multiplying to get the new transformation matrix after that motion. And so this will describe the new position and orientation of the drone after applying this transformation matrix T. Okay. So today we talked about what is a transformation matrix. We know it's a 4x4 matrix that captures both rotation and position, and we can use it to represent a rigid body motion. We also talked about how we use transformation matrices. Again, we're usually multiplying, and the order of multiplication is really important. You want to think about your subscripts, as well as whether you want to do this motion in the body frame or in your spatial frame. Before you move on, just to reinforce these concepts, I encourage you to do the practice set. You can find it in the description or in the pinned comment. As a reminder, the first page, those are the problems, and the next pages have the solutions, so you can just check and make sure you understand these concepts. When you're ready to move on, our next lecture, we're going to talk about kind of what we've said so far. We've talked about position and rotation, we're now going to start extending that to velocity and start to think about linear and angular velocity of these rigid bodies. So I hope to see you there.